Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Art of Shame-Free Living podcast. This is my journey through shame, my clients, my friends, my family, how I see shame in community, and I've been loving having this outlet to talk so much about it. Somebody asked me the other day, are you going to ever have guests on your podcast? I don't know. Not for the foreseeable future. I think for now, it's just going to be me and my interactions with shame in my own life and in the lives of people that I see around me and how it's impacting us. So pretty much every single day, people have been asking, have you watched K-pop and the Demon Hunters yet? Because it's all about shame. And I love that people know that that's my jam, that that's what I love talking about. So I finally got a chance to see it. And there's a few things that really stood out to me. And I wanted to talk about them a little bit. One of the things was the message that shame gives. If you have not seen this movie, it's a kid's cartoon. It's awesome. The music is awesome, but the message is so cool. There's even these patterns that are passed down to us by other people. And you can kind of see them. And the overall message is hide your fears, hide your faults, hide your mistakes. And there's a specific part where shame is speaking to these two women, and it's telling them these things in their minds. And one of them says, you're too much and you're not enough and you don't belong. And then to another one, it says, you'll never have a family, because it knows that that's the thing that she so deeply wants. And shame is interesting because it often gives us very similar messages. The shame messages are, you don't belong, you're not worthy of love or respect or belonging. There's something wrong with you, you'll never belong, you're not connected, you're not included. Those messages are very similar under the surface to all of us. So one of the reasons why I think movies like this do so well is because it speaks to each of us, even if we don't consciously understand that those are messages that we have on the inside. Sometimes we're conscious of them and sometimes we're not. We all feel it. You could watch the movie and you could feel what they were feeling. And of course, there's this one character who's kind of trying to perpetuate the message of hide your fears, hide your faults, push them down until we find a way to fix this. Like, we will fix it of our own accord. Like, we will find something that will fix this thing so that nobody else has to see. That's often the message that we get from society. We're like, no, we all don't want to show those inner parts that we have. And so we're all trying to push them down and pretend that they're not there. And so let's hide them. Let's cover them up. Let's pretend that they're not there. Obviously, this never works. You see this happen in the movie as well. This doesn't work. And what does work is the acceptance of all of our parts, all of our messy parts, the integration of all of those parts. I've talked about that already on the podcast. But I also watched a movie called Avengers, Thunderbolts. If you haven't seen that one, I also highly suggest it. And the same kind of idea. There's this man that's literally fighting with his own shadow self. And you see him fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting with his shadow self. And his shadow self just doesn't do anything. If anything, it just gets stronger the more that he fights with it. Well, in K-pop and the Demon Hunters, the same kind of idea happens where this one man says, if you could fight this demon, shame, if you could fight this with hatred, I would have already won. I would have already defeated him. He already knew that does not work. So he was kind of resigned to like apathy. I guess we'll just have to always believe this. But of course, in the end of that movie, and also in the end of this other movie in Thunderbolts, the idea is the same, that it's the acceptance of, it's the welcoming of, we all have mistakes. We all feel this way sometimes. It's connecting with other people through that, but it's also understanding that it's acceptance of those parts within ourselves. I think of it now as, instead of it being this blank canvas where everything's clean and clear and we've never made any mistakes, they're like splashes on a canvas. But instead of looking at them like they shouldn't have happened, it's like this colorful canvas. Like, we are all inside this colorful canvas that has a lot of beauty to it, that has a lot of wonderful things, that has a lot of talents also. But then we also have these mistakes and these fears and these failures and these faults. And that's all of us. That's like accepting everything. It's like that quote that I shared several episodes ago, the Brandon Sanderson quote from Bastille versus the Evil Librarians, where they say, it's embracing all those human parts. I'm a human, I make mistakes, and sometimes I repeat them. But sometimes the things that you see as your greatest flaw can also be your greatest strength. I think that our strength comes in connection. I think our strength comes in community. It comes in sharing these shame stories with others and with ourselves and really acknowledging them. But one thing that I don't feel either of the movies did as well was trying to describe, well, what now? What was that switch? How did that person end up finally deciding, yes, I'm going to face this and I'm going to accept this and I'm going to find love and compassion for myself and for others, and especially for myself. That is where the healing is. But it kind of glosses over that quickly to the change. Like, they're this one way in the movie and then the change happens and they're this other way. Well, what happens is compassion. What happens is connection. What happens is love. Yes, sharing our story. Yes, talking about our shame. That's a great first step. Yes, recognition that is shame, right? Shame's always going to lie. Shame's always going to tell you that you're uniquely messed up in a way that nobody else is. Shame's always going to accentuate all of the bad and minimize the good. That's what shame is great at doing. And recognition of that and awareness of that is the first step. Speaking about it, understanding it, writing it out in a journal, talking to people about it, that is such a great first step. But there is more than just that. And when I first did all of these trainings in shame that I did back in the day, I was like recognizing shame everywhere in myself, especially. And I was like, okay, this is impacting every area of my life. But I was also like, but now what? The healing is in the feeling of love, the feeling of acceptance, the feeling of compassion. It's actually getting out of our mind and all of the swirling and ruminating thoughts, and it's getting into our body. It's sitting with the actual feeling in our body. That is what changes things. So for the next few episodes, what I would like to offer is kind of helping you do this in the same way that I help with my clients do this, because it has been hugely healing and changing for me. It feels simple. It feels like almost too simple. Like, how could it be healing? How could all of this change? How could my shame significantly decrease just by getting out of my mind and sitting with feelings in my body? Maybe it doesn't feel simple to you. I don't know. But to me, it feels like almost overly simple. But that truly is the answer, because it's simple, but it's very, very difficult to do. When I explain this to people and I say, okay, show me where it hurts, they can often point exactly in their body where they feel it, where they feel the pain, where they feel the discomfort, where they're holding on to that energy. And then when I say, okay, let's sit with that feeling. Let's not go back into our mind with blaming other people or people pleasing or trying to figure out what's actually happening. Let's stay out of the mind for a while and let's stay with that feeling in our body. And they're like, ooh, I don't want to do that. That's the work. That is the work. That is the only work. We do all that we can to avoid it, right? Scroll social media, pornography, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is that we're into to try to avoid our life, avoid feeling our feelings, even good things. Like we can work a lot, or we can try to make more money, or we could, I don't know, help other people, like try to serve other people. But all of those things can be numbing us from feeling what's actually in our body. One of the things I've been recognizing lately is busy, rush, hurry, like that feeling, keeping our schedule full. That can keep us from sitting with these feelings. And the healing comes from the feeling. And over time, you'll recognize that that is what's changing your subconscious. That is what is changing your identity, that you feel differently. Just recently, I was sitting in a situation that normally would have been very triggering for me, where a family member was saying things that I know what I would have taken personally, because they were things that on the outside, you would probably feel like were pretty unkind. But on the inside, I noticed there was no emotional trigger for me. There was none. And what past me would have done, my past, not my past personality, right? This isn't personality or characteristics of me. This is like my past wounding, my habitual patterns of being. What past me would have done is thrown that back at them. No, this is a you problem. This has nothing to do, like, just get your stuff fixed together. I would have been unkind. I would have been passive aggressive, or I would have been short, or I would have just shut down and not said anything. And because I wasn't feeling that trigger inside, that emotional activation inside, I responded completely differently. I was calm. I was collected. I reflected back to them what they said. And I said, you know what? I don't feel that way. The way that you just said you feel, that I feel about you, that's not me. So I'm not sure what's happening inside of you, but I know that's just not true for me. And they paused for a moment and they were like, you're probably right about that. I probably just need to ponder on that a little bit more. And they went and reflected and learned. And anyways, it was a miraculous experience for me, because you know that you have done healing work and that the healing work is working when you're in the same situation that pretty much always triggers you and you don't feel triggered. Or you're in the same situation that always triggers you when you can feel a little bit of the trigger come up, but your behavior isn't completely overtaken by that trigger. And if you've been recognizing that and noticing that lately, then the work is also working for you. And just keep doing that work being in the feeling. So over the next couple of episodes, I'm just going to have a couple of little subconscious practices that have helped me, and hopefully they can help you as well. And you can go back to them over and over and over again. And again, it's super simple. The work is super simple. It's difficult to do. It's hard to do. It's really deeply uncomfortable to do. It sometimes feels just darkness or death or dying inside. Sometimes it feels so deeply hard, but it really is that work over and over and over and over again, where we can reconnect to ourselves. We can feel seen and heard and loved and accepted by us, which is what we really want in the end anyways. And what we wanted in the beginning, what we needed in the beginning. That's what you'll see over the next few episodes. And I hope that it's helpful for you, as it's been helpful, so life-changing for myself and for people around me. And we will see you next week. And again, don't forget, if you're loving these or finding them interesting, share them with other people, like, subscribe, follow, do all of the things that really helps get the word out there. Thanks so much for being here. See you next week. If you are enjoying these episodes, I would love for you to follow, subscribe, like, share, do all those things so that it can get more out into the world, more out into the algorithm, and join me in this shame-free movement.